Hello everyone and welcome back to Chaos Creations. It's about lunchtime here in Perth, Western Australia on a Friday. I have a dilemma and the question is to base or not to base. For the first time ever in my entire life, I have the ability to make an army from the ground up. And by that I mean the bases. So I've been 3D printing bases. We have things like, chariot bases here, which are, beautifully detailed, absolutely stunning, and a whole lot of various other bases which you've seen me talk about at length. Now, I'm just doing a couple of test prints, find out colors and so forth, but I've come across a small problem. Now, normally when I get your normal base, like that, back in the day, I'd just pop the miniature on there and then, glue it down and put sand around it. And the sand would also reinforce it where it is and it would stick there. And, it's great. But now I'm doing bases like this. And, I'm thinking, do I just want to just pop the chariot on top and then paint it? Or should I paint this, then put the chariot on top and paint that? Now, chariots and some horsemen are a little bit more easy to paint, but, skellies and so forth in particular is quite difficult. So part of me wants to just, stock out like 300 bases, paint them all reasonably detailed, not to the high detail with flock and all the rest of it, but, put down a good multicolor of paints like this, and then put the miniature on top and then paint it? Or do I just pop it on there, glue it on, and then paint around it and so forth and hope for the best? The reason why I'm thinking of doing the bases first is I've noticed the fact that I glued this guy down and then painted him and then the base, and I got part of the base on his foot and I had to go back and touch it up and so forth, this, that, and the other. So if I do it the other way and just do lots of bases and then stick them all down, the bases are done reasonably neat. I mean, I can do little touch-ups and so forth, but they're all done. I glue them down and then put the miniature on and paint that up. My old habits of just painting it all as one is something that's been with me since the very start. Now, I don't know. I'd like input if possible. Detailed bases, I mean, the skeleton with a little bit of skull at the front is easy, but, when you've got, several skulls and so forth, it's going to be a bit more difficult. And that is going to be next to nigh impossible with a chariot on top of it. So that's a given. I'll have to do that first. Anyway, that's where I am at the moment with bases. Number two, I had a wonderful conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, and she told me the fact that I can't do Legions Imperialis. And I had a talk with her, and I said, what do you mean I can't do Legions Imperialis? What's stopping me? Besides not being out and not having enough money. And she said, you don't have the hands for it anymore. And I'm like, what? And she said, think about it. It's lots of tiny little miniatures. I'll be there with a pair of tweezers putting exhausts and little tiny guys on helmets and so forth on this set. I'll be basically like two chopsticks or two tweezers slowly putting one miniature together, and I'm going to have RSI by the end of just one little tank. And she commented the fact that I have a very, very wonky hand here. This hand has had some damage to it over the years. I won't go into details, but it doesn't work particularly well. And she said, you fumble with miniatures, 28, 32 mil miniatures. How are you going to be with tiny little tanks and so forth? So what I'm going to end up doing, and I think I've dodged a bullet here, is I'm going to just buy the book and then use a lot of my stuff. Maybe pick up other things here, there, and everywhere, but yeah, I think she's right. My hands aren't. I'm 6'6", and I have big burly man hands. Fine little epic scale and so forth might be a problem for me. So I think I'll just be buying the book and then using the prints and the stuff that I have. It's the safest way, and it'll keep me sane. Now there is one other thing before I go. You might notice that the desk is a bit more cleaned up. I had to clean it up. It was just getting a bit too chaotic, even with my name being Chaos Creations or Created by Chaos. And I have a system. I don't know if anyone else uses it, but I have 2 water pots over there. This water pot is half filled up with water and half filled up with vinegar, and this one is just pure water. The reason why is this one here, the vinegar will help dissolve a little bit of the gunk on it. I mean, it's not going to get rid of all of it, but if you're regularly using the same brushes and so forth, it just helps pick it away a little bit. And because it's half water, it's quite diluted. It's not going to like damage the brush too much. And then you douse it in the water just to get rid of all the gunk. The downside to it is this one has to be cleaned out every day, and this one I clean out, I don't know, every 3 or 4 days. I just find my brushes are lasting a lot longer, and I still have that nice flexibility with them. You may have noticed that behind me before in other videos there were stacks and stacks of paints. I had to get rid of them because just up here is a window, and I was noticing a lot of my paints were drying out quite alarmingly quickly. So we're coming into summer for the first time in this house. It was gonna, cause havoc. So now I've got them all in a tub, and I just keep a row of paints here that I'm regularly using. So, I've got my, Skeletal Horde, my Kislev Flesh, some brown and red and blue, which is pretty much the standard for all Tomb Kings, and I'll just get some Retribution Armor Gold today when I go to the shops, and that'll just keep me going. So in that way, I can keep the rest of the paints in a box or under the table in a cool, controlled environment where they're not going to get direct sunlight and they're not going to get direct heat. I mean, down on the floor, it's quite cool down there. This house is pretty much tiled for the most part, except for a few places that have carpet. So it'll be nice and cool down there. They'll last a lot longer. Okay, so if there's any questions, let me know. If you think I should do the bases first and then glue them on, or do it the other way around, please let me know. Like I said, I'm in 2 minds about it at the moment, and it's actually giving me a bit of a headache because I want to do it right for once in my life. I actually want to make a decent, good army. For years, I just, stuck skeletons on there and a little bit of sand, and I gave them a half-assed paint job, and away we go. This time around, I'm taking my time. We've got until January, February, before the end of January, before the box set comes out. So I want to have at least, all my rank and file within reason done. That said, I'm sure that the Tomb Kings box set, if it actually appears, will have lots of rank and file in it, and I'll be, back to square one. But at least I'll have something on the board that I can play, within a week. Boom, I've got all those amazing models that I got yesterday. Once I find out the base sizes, I'll go from there. And in the meantime, I'll have, rank and file done, because we know rank and file is on 25 by 25. And that's what I printed out. I literally have bags of 25 by 25. So I'm going to, once I figure out the system, I'll go from there. You have seen some details of some other bits and pieces. So I've got some terrain that I'm working on, a couple of spooky-like trees for my battlefield, little Tomb Kings of entrance and so forth, top of the pyramid. So, yeah, and, I'm starting to do some work on some of the other items. I do have another one of these. What I'm going to do is, it doesn't come with a little eagle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can open up the top halfway and have like spirits sort of like crawling out and leaping out and so forth, like Indiana Jones and, what is it? The first one, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Mental blank there. So like Raiders of the Lost Ark, have all these like ghosts coming out of it and so forth. We'll see how we do. Anyway, that's it from me. If you have any questions, just ask. So the channel for the moment will be mostly Tomb Kings, Warhammer, the Old World. Legions Imperialis will have to go on the back burner. I'll get the book and I'll use miniatures and I'll do some painting up of those later on. People that are interested in the Tyranids, excuse me, Tyranids, I've done all the legs, and I'm going to do, in the meantime, a little light sanding around some of the joins, because I don't know why, it all should fit together like a glove, but for some strange reason the pegs on them are oddly a little bit too big. I don't get why, but anyway, so I'll sand them down and so forth. The big resin one that I've got is just going to sit there and gather dust. Like I said, I might do a competition for it. If anyone has ideas for a competition, let me know. Anyway, so yes, if you could tell me what you think about just doing mass bases first and then gluing them down, or do you think I should glue them all down and then paint as one? Please let me know. This is Chaos signing off. Have a great day. Stay safe. Bye.